War is a racket. It always has been. It is possibly the oldest, easily the most profitable, surely the most vicious. It is the only one international in scope. It is the only one in which the profits are reckoned in dollars and the losses in lives. A racket is best described, I believe, as something that is not what it seems to the majority of the people. Only a small, inside group knows what it is about. It is conducted for the benefit of the very few, at the expense of the very many. Out of war, a few people make huge fortunes. This is the beginning of the book War's a Racket, written by former Marine Corps General Smedley Butler. My name is Joey, and welcome to War's a Racket. When we think of rackets, we tend to think of organized crime. Criminal organizations such as the mob have run rackets that have encompassed neighborhoods and cities. By comparison, the racket run by the U.S. military today encompasses numerous continents, as evidenced by its overseas military bases and/or military involvement in 80 countries and territories. So how is war a racket? And what drives the global military footprint of the United States, which is effectively an empire? Let's start with the profitability of war itself. With the coming of the industrial age and subsequent advances in technology, advanced weapon systems entered the global battle space. The increased profitability of the armament sector in this new age added another dimension to what was once used as a means to access new markets, trade routes, and natural resources, among other things. It wasn't just the spoils afterwards that were now seen as the spoils of war, but also the scope of war itself. To simplify, war has become very profitable for the few. Think about it. Wars need weapons, and that demand generates contracts for defense companies. These contracts are paid for by taxpayers, and the profits are enjoyed by the defense industry. While the defense industry can do nothing but gain from war, the losses, meanwhile, are counted in lives, and those lives do not happen to be the industrialists who profit from war. And it is not just war itself that generates these contracts, but the supposed need to always be ready for war, no matter where it may occur. It doesn't matter if there is an actual threat or one is invented. In this state of preparation, there will always be a need and desire for the newest and most advanced weapon systems. From this, it is not just war itself, but being in a state of perpetual war that ensures an endless pipeline of weapons contracts for the defense industrialists. The US has by far the biggest defense budget in the world, used to maintain this racket. To protect the status quo of profitability for the very few, a military-industrial complex exists, which is an informal network between the military and defense industry. We will cover this phenomenon in depth in a future video. Not only do armaments companies become further enriched from war, but so do other companies that receive more business during war. In his book, Smedley went into detail over how much money other industries made, such as steel, coal, copper, and even shoes. These industrial resources are much needed inputs for the war effort, ensuring that companies in these sectors receive a continuous flow of contracts as well. After all, troops have to be clothed and fed, ensuring that companies that deal with this receive a continuous flow of contracts as well. Weapons, input metals, energy, food, clothing, beds, and transportation are some of the many resources needed in war. Finally, financiers help provide the money used for these costs, ensuring a continued financial interest in war. Historically, countries invaded each other, and empires were built to access new markets, trading routes, and natural resources. This was true back then, with many wars being fought over water, and true today, with many wars being fought over oil, gas, rare earth minerals, etc. But this goes beyond any genuine need for natural resources. In today's world, an energy self-sufficient United States may not need oil or gas from country X, let's say, but the Western multinational corporation still wants to access the oil market of country X. In other words, the multinational corporation wants to be the one who profits off of the resources of country X rather than the people of country X themselves. When a country decides they want to nationalize a national resource and subsequently cut out foreign corporations, the latter loses. To protect the profits and systems of exploitation enjoyed by capitalist interests, Military or covert intervention is used to eliminate the threat. An example of this was when the US overthrew the democratically elected Prime Minister of Iran in 1953 due to calls to nationalize the Iranian oil supplies. As this threatened the interests of US corporations, the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, moved in and installed the Shah. It is the job of the US national security regime, which includes the military and the CIA, to make the world safe for the multinational corporation and its global system of capital accumulation. It must be able to access any market in any place of its choosing, and it has the US regime as its enforcer. Investments are to be protected as the sword follows the dollar, as well as curated as the dollar follows the sword. To better illustrate the relationship between the regime and corporations, let's look at what Woodrow Wilson said before he was president. Since trade ignores national boundaries and the manufacturer insists on having the world as a market, the flag of his nation must follow him, and the doors of the nations which are closed against him must be battered down. Concessions obtained by financiers must be safeguarded by ministers of state, even if the sovereignty of unwilling nations be outraged in the process. Colonies must be obtained or planted in order that no useful corner of the world may be overlooked or left unused. And then later on, when he was President of the United States, during World War I, he noted that the United States was involved in a struggle to command the economic fortunes of the world. As you see, the multinational corporations and weapons producers are among the few who profit off this racket, while the many who do not even know the existence of this racket are the losers, whether through the loss of lives or taxpayer dollars that go to maintaining this racket. Thank you for watching this video, and if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. For now, this is a report by me, Joey. Thank you for watching, and war's a racket.